My high school coach was my dad, so I grew up when I was 5 years old, being around high school football and the players, and so I just naturally got very interested in playing the game. I started playing when I was in elementary school. I was 18 years old when I saw the movie Crazy Legs. It was about Los Angeles Rams receiver named Elroy Crazy Legs Hirsch. See, this was before the age of television, so visually I had never seen a great receiver. And when I saw that movie Crazy Legs, I thought, I want to catch the ball like Crazy Legs Hirsch. So I started working on doing what he did in that movie, and that was the beginning of my, real focus on becoming a receiver. Years of my varsity years, we didn't throw the ball very much. We ran the ball, and I played defense. I was a very good defensive player, and that's one reason why I got to play at SMU. The Baltimore Colts drafted me as a junior. It was a very high draft pick, I think in the 20th round, I think. Yeah, so they made a big risk there, taking me in the 20th round, and so I got a huge contract before we went to training camp. I think I got $8,500, and they gave me a $1,500 bonus to sign. So I got a $10,000 my first 2 years in pro football. Now, who was that you said? Johnny who? That's when he came to training camp that year. That's exactly what they said. John who? And here's one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game come in, and they have no clue as to what they've got. We just naturally, both of us, we loved to play football. We wanted to be good. We were both struggling to make it in the NFL. He was a free agent, and I was a 23rd draft pick trying to make it. And so we started working together, and after practice, and nobody bothered us, and we developed timing and understanding and confidence. We got to a place to where when I would come back into the huddle, I would tell John 15-yard sideline, and he would call it. And he would ask me, what do you got? I said, I got nothing. And I would be in a game whichever I hadn't figured this guy out yet. So we never wasted any plays. And whenever I had something open, I said, I can go deep on this guy, and he'd call it, and we'd score a touchdown. Well, the 1958 championship game against the New York Giants, played in Yankee Stadium in New York, was it was the first time the game went into overtime. They had an overtime rule in the rule book, but nobody ever knew anything about what it was because it never had happened. And the game against the Giants had Vince Lombardi running their offense and Tom Landry running their defense. Now, you want to talk about some heavy hitters as far as coaches are concerned, but we had Weeb Eubank, and he was equal to doing both of them. The strength of Weeb Eubank's offense was simplicity combined with being sound. He was totally sound and totally simple, and it's the most difficult thing to accomplish in coaching. Matter of fact, I'm sure it's the most difficult thing to accomplish in most any profession. Weeb gave us a 6-shooter with 4 bullets in it, and we knew how to shoot all of them. And that's exactly what happened in this game. We got into a situation in which we were behind, and we had to get a drive going to try and bring the game into overtime, and that's exactly what we did. I think I caught 3 in a row leading to the field goal that tied it, and then in overtime I caught 2 or 3 to move the ball into scoring range, and we scored to win the game. You have to be out of the game 5 full seasons before you're eligible for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And, the numbers that I had, I knew that I was going to be selected for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. There wasn't any mystery about it because when I had ended my career, I had caught more passes than anybody in NFL history. And so, it was an obvious thing that I was going to be selected. So The ceremonies in Ohio up there were, so awesome, so moving that, it was a tremendous experience to be there and to become a part of, professional football history. Well, whenever I retired as a player, and I knew my playing days were over, there was one thing that I didn't want to do. I didn't want to coach. So I'm also a Christian, and I prayed. I said, God, what is it you want me to do? Coach. So I'm working for my brother-in-law who's got a company here in Murfreesboro, and I'm working out of my house, servicing customers on the East Coast. And the New England Patriots owner called me one day in the middle of the football season and said, Raymond, he said, we're getting ready to fire Ron Meyer. And I said, no, I'm offering you the head coaching job. Well, it's unheard of. It never happens. It never has happened, never will again. Not only that, it's like I'm making a living doing something else. I'm not even keeping up with the NFL, and I don't even know what the Patriots are up to because I got to make a living. So I went over there, and they had 8 games left on their schedule. And I only knew one guy on the coaching staff, and I knew about 6 players, and other than that, I didn't know anybody in the whole system. And so you say to yourself, well, we've got 8 games left. Now, since you don't know anybody, you don't know anything, what are you going to do as a head coach on the day of the game? And so I told the coaching staff, I said, look, I don't know my butt in first base about what y'all are doing, offense, defense, kicking game. I said, on the day of the game, first of all, I want to do the coin toss, and then at the end of the game, I'll make the decision whether or not we're going to kick off or receive. So I started studying them. I'm out there during the game watching this team and start realizing, good grief, this team's got all the talent it takes to win a world championship. I saw capability in this team and in these players, and boy, they were going to hear it from me every day, all day long, and going to get into their heads about the fact that make them aware of their capability, because they had no clue how good they could be. I had been telling them from the get-go, as for when I was a head coach, that we could win on the road just as well as we could win at home. It didn't make any difference where we were playing. The thing that made the difference was how we played and the attitude with which we were playing. And that's what I hammered into them. And when we I don't know how many games we went on the road. I guess on the way to the Super Bowl, we went on the road 3 times, I guess. I don't remember, but I know that we did not look upon being on the road as any minus. It was like we can win on the road, and we will. The overriding factor in Super Bowl 20 was the fact that in training camp of 1985, we had installed our offense and our defense for the first time. And what you do is you take a few steps the first year, and then you take a few more the next year, and then by the 3rd year, you pretty well feel like you've got most of what you're trying to get done in. But what you have is an A, B, and I'm not even sure you go C. And that is what we put on the field against the Chicago Bears. We had an A, B offense against a PhD defense. We had as good of players as the Chicago Bears had. Had we been together 5 or 6 years, it would have been a close game probably, but there's no question in my mind we'd have beat them. Well, Sally's brother, Tom Crook, owned a company here called Freedom Industries. And we had spent off-season time in Murfreesboro because of the children and grandchildren, our children and their children, both like to be with each other. So we got familiar with Murfreesboro, and for one thing, it's not overwhelmingly large, and the family being here was one of the biggest factors of us coming here. But you know, the climate here is nice seasons, and the access to the airport in Nashville, you know, is a big plus for Murfreesboro. You know, it doesn't take you long to be able to fly anywhere in the world from here. We can go to Nashville, catch a plane. It's kind of an out-of-body experience. It's like I've been out of the game a good while, and then all of a sudden you're thrust back on the biggest stage in pro football, and it's a little mind-boggling. And but you know, I spent my whole life in professional football, so I did not feel you know, out of pocket particularly, but I was also aware that this type of thing just doesn't happen. So, but it was happening, so I had to kind of pinch myself to make sure I was in the right spot. Well, I think number one is I think I would like for him to be aware of the fact that I acknowledged God, and that none of this would have ever happened if it hadn't been for His plan and purpose in my life. And you know, I'm quite well aware of the fact that He's the one that orchestrated all of it.